And at number 10, Lilly Singh. Lilly Singh started off as a YouTuber who gained immense popularity for her skits. Her career seemed to be reaching new heights every year, and she was getting more recognition in traditional media. But things changed for the worse when she got her own late night show with NBC called A Little Late with Lilly Singh. At first, it was the most amazing opportunity that a YouTuber had ever received. And not only was she jumping into traditional media, she was also going to be the first bisexual woman of color to get a late night show. But once the show aired, it got terrible reviews. Even people that consider themselves fans of Lilly's YouTube videos were forced to admit that the show was not good. The show was renewed after its first season, but did not make it past the chopping block after the second season. Lilly is still working in traditional media, however she does not have the respect on YouTube or television that she had before her show debut. And at number 9, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is one of the most controversial comedians ever because she doesn't shy away from touchy subjects like religion and politics. And it seems that her bad reputation has trickled over to some of her peers, and as a result, she's been banned from countless talk shows over the years. I think she might have broken a record from one of the most banned people ever. She's been blacklisted from The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, The View, Ellen, Today, and The Late Show with David Letterman. The story of why she was axed from Letterman is the most insane. While she was on the show doing a live interview, she decided to start undressing. She got so naked that the crowd, as well as those at home, saw her bra, stomach, and the fact that she wasn't wearing any underwear. And at number 8, Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant ruined his career in a number of ways. I think him cheating in public with a sex worker was probably the most famous, but his bad reputations on late night shows definitely did not help. Jon Stewart had such a bad interaction with the actor that he decided to ban Grant from his late night show back in 2009. Apparently Hugh was incredibly rude while he was on the show, cursing and complaining about pretty much everything. Hugh somewhat tried to set the record straight about things and admitted that he was in a terrible mood the day he was on set, tweeting, quote, "Turns out my inner crab got the better of me with TV producer in 09. Unforgivable, Jay Stewart is correct to give me kicking." So I mean, at least he knows that he deserved it. And at number 7, Joan Rivers. Near the beginning of Joan's long and successful career, she frequently appeared on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. But when Joan got her own show with Fox, Carson was not happy with her, and their friendship sadly ended. At the time, she made history for being the first woman to ever host a late night show. But unfortunately, the show wasn't very good, and it ended shortly after it started. And when Joan tried to get back on Johnny Carson's show, he actually rejected her and banned her from ever coming back on his show. At the time, this was a huge blow to her budding career, with some thinking it was the beginning of the end. The ban even continued when the show changed hands and Jay Leno took over in 1992. But thankfully she managed to find work elsewhere, and the ban made a little difference on her work. And at number 6, Billy Bush. Billy Bush was placed in charge of an interview with businessman Donald Trump in 2005, back when Trump was famous for shows like The Apprentice. But an X-rated conversation from before the interview was leaked to the public during Trump's run for office, and crazy enough, it hardly made a difference in his popularity. However, the interview seemed to derail Bush's career. In 2016, after the tape was suspiciously leaked allegedly by an employee of NBC, Bush was actually fired by the network. Not sure if they thought he was responsible in some way. According to Page 6, this may or may not have been part of the network's plan, though it was pretty clear that they were trying to derail Trump's presidential run. After the derogatory comments made in the tape were revealed, it seems that Bush is the person that paid the price. Halfway at number 5, Caitlyn Jenner. The infamous interview that Caitlyn Jenner did with Ellen DeGeneres completely changed the way the people looked at Caitlyn, and it caused many in the LGBT community to retract their support for her. The interview was so bad that Caitlyn was even blacklisted from Ellen's show afterward. In her memoir, Secrets of My Life, Caitlyn called out Ellen specifically for, quote, alienating her from the LGBTQ community by not allowing Caitlyn to come on her show. However, it's clear that Caitlyn alienated herself. During the 2015 interview, Ellen asked about Caitlyn's stance on gay marriage. Caitlyn replied that she was originally not for gay marriage many years ago, adding, quote, if that word marriage is important to you, I can go with it. And from Caitlyn's tone, it didn't seem genuine to Ellen. Ellen even pointed out Caitlyn's blatant hypocrisy. And at number 4, Michael Richards. The legendary Seinfeld actor got serious backlash after he called a member of the audience the N-word because this person was heckling him during a stand-up routine. In 2006, Michaels tried to revitalize his image by apologizing for the comments on The Late Show with David Letterman. However, it seems the apology was not taken well because his career took a nosedive after the appearance. Since this incident, Richards has only appeared in 2 roles, one on Curb Your Enthusiasm and another on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. And at number 3, David Letterman. Recently, David Letterman has received a lot of flack for his past interviews, specifically for being inappropriate while interviewing his female guests. But there is another overlooked controversy involving Letterman that almost derailed his career. In 2009, Letterman got on television and told his unsuspecting viewers that he was being blackmailed. Apparently, this person knew that Letterman was having sexual relationships with his coworkers and wanted $2 million to keep the secret to himself. However, Letterman did not participate in the blackmail and decided to air his dirty laundry out to the public. After working with the police, they discovered the person was producer Joe Halderman. Many were shocked that Letterman was sleeping with members of his staff, which is incredibly unethical because of his position of power. He seemed to get off the hook pretty easily, but that behavior definitely would not have stood today. And at number 2, Alan Carr. This one's honestly hilarious, but it was a bit too cheeky for many people's taste. While Kim Kardashian was on Alan Carr's show, they were speaking about her butt and why everyone believes that it's fake. Kim even showed Alan the pictures of the x-ray she got on the show, proving that there are no implants in her butt. Kim then decided to get a little cheeky and let Alan Carr actually grab her butt so he could feel if it was real. The moment was very brief and they both took it like a champ, but out of context it looks really bad. After the grab, Carr told Kim, quote, "If I had a bum like yours, I would walk into a room backwards. How honored are you when people say you have the best bum in the world?" Kim blamed it on her Armenian genes, pointing out that all her sisters are curvy. And finally, number 1, Andy Dick. Comedian Andy Dick got incredibly inappropriate while on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and he was kicked off the show as a result. Dick was on the show the same time as Ivanka Trump, the famous daughter of Donald Trump. Throughout the interview, Andy got incredibly inappropriate with Ivanka, touching her leg out of nowhere multiple times. After Andy was getting too handsy, Kimmel decided to get his security to kick Andy off the show. And mind you, this was mid-interview, so the whole thing was caught on camera. The whole thing seemed to be kind of a joke, but it was clear that Andy went way too far. I'm sure many fans lost a lot of respect for him after that. And at number 10, Crispin Glover. Things felt off about this interview almost as soon as Glover walked on stage. He was wearing a wig, skin-tight pinstripe pants, platform shoes, and huge glasses. Things only got worse once the two started talking, and it was clear something was very wrong with Glover. At one point, Glover even started reading out negative stories about himself that were written in LA Weekly. Then the tone shifted and Glover tried to challenge Letterman to an arm wrestling match to prove he's strong. Then he randomly kicked towards Letterman and almost hit him in the face. Letterman tried to defuse the situation and leave by saying, quote, "I have to check on the top 10 list." After that interview, Glover was written off as crazy. And at number 9, Charles Rocket. Charles Rocket was primed to be a breakout star of SNL in 1981. Fans of the show called him the perfect mix between Chevy Chase and Bill Murray, and his segments on the show were adored by everyone. However, his career completely imploded after he accidentally said the F word during the live broadcast. Every cast member at the time knew how important it was to never swear on TV, as it would get you fired. That's exactly what happened to Rocket. He went from being one of the best cast members of that time to basically nobody, and his career trickled off slowly after he was fired. And at number 8, Brian Williams. Brian Williams was one of the top news anchors ever, filling the coveted nightly news spot on NBC. He was even so well respected that he was frequently a guest on SNL and 30 Rock, but that all changed when it was exposed that Williams was a liar. The lie first started back in 2003, and he basically claimed that he was riding in a military helicopter that was forced to the ground while flying over Iraq. The plane was hit by an RPG and almost crashed. He kept repeating the story over and over for years after, even mentioning it on Late Night with David Letterman in 2013. But when the world found out that the whole story was a lie, everyone was shocked and felt they couldn't trust him again. He ended up getting a 6-month unpaid suspension from NBC, and his career took a massive hit. He never came back to his original role and was demoted to a smaller network. And at number 7, Abel Ferrara. Conan O'Brien recently revealed who his worst guest ever was, and it was none other than Abel Ferrara. Anybody familiar with the interview definitely knows why. O'Brien spoke about it on the Armchair Expert podcast, where he shared that Ferrara came on the show against his will and made it clear that he didn't want to be there. Conan went on to say that Ferrara even left the building right before the show was about to start, and Conan's staff had to track him down and drag him to the studio. O'Brien estimates the director was intoxicated throughout the discussion. This made the interview cringy and hard to watch, but it's now fan favorite. Conan called it, quote, compelivision, meaning it was so bad the viewer couldn't stop watching. It's so infamous William Dafoe even commented on it during his own interview with Conan. And at number 6, Sinead O'Connor. Sinead O'Connor was at the peak of her career when she was asked to perform on SNL, but the live performance didn't go as planned and her statements had serious repercussions. O'Connor performed on SNL in October of 1992, but SNL was probably wishing that she didn't, because O'Connor ended the performance by holding up a picture of Pope John Paul II, ripping it up, and stating, quote, fight the real enemy, obviously offending millions of people. The show quickly cut after they saw what happened, but the damage was already done, and tons of angry calls came flooding in. One audience member even tried to assault O'Connor and had to be removed by security. Not only was O'Connor banned from SNL, her career never really recovered. Halfway number 5, Ashley Simpson. This is one of those accidents that sadly ruined a career. While Ashley was on SNL to perform, she did one song that went off without a hitch, but her second song caused an infamous moment the internet will never forget. When the music started, the vocals for the track that she sang before started to play, making it incredibly clear that she was lip-syncing. Nobody knew what to do, so her band just kept playing while she danced around the stage and didn't sing a word. In the days that followed, the singer was attacked in the media for lip-syncing, which is especially bad on an all-live show. After the incident, she tried to set the record straight and explain why she lip-synced. She told MTV that she lost her voice because of acid reflux, and instead of canceling her appearance, she thought it was better for everyone if she just faked it. I'm sure she regrets it in hindsight. And at number 4, Prince Andrew. Following accusations that Prince Andrew had close ties to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, the public demanded answers about why they had seen each other so often and why there was photo evidence of them together. Prince Andrew decided to do an interview with BBC discussing everything, and it was a complete train wreck. When asked if he was close with Epstein, he claimed, quote, it would be a stretch to say that he was ever close friends with Epstein, and claimed that he was only ever +1 to Ghislaine. However, there are records Andrew visited Epstein after his prison release in 2010. He also said that Epstein, quote, conducted himself in a manner unbecoming, to which the reporter responded, unbecoming? To which Andrew replied, yep, I'm sorry, I'm being polite. Lastly, Prince Andrew claimed he didn't sleep with Virginia Roberts because she said he was sweating, and apparently he had a condition after the war that caused him not to sweat. And at number 3, Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer is famous for being the kooky host of Mad Money, a show that talks about the stock market and even gives tips about which stocks to buy. But after the 2008 crash, everyone was wondering how much Cramer knew that he didn't tell to the public on his show. Shortly after the crash, Cramer appeared on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart and completely destroyed him. Stewart pushed Cramer to reveal that he knew what the banks were doing leading up to the crash, but didn't warn anyone. Stewart even aired a clip showing Cramer telling his audience that Bear Stearns was in good shape right before it tanked. After this, Cramer's reputation took a major hit and people couldn't trust him to give accurate information. And at number 2, Kelly Osbourne. Kelly Osbourne got tons of heat after she made an incredibly insensitive comment about Latinos on The View in 2015. While the panel was discussing Donald Trump's hateful comments about Latinos, Osbourne said, quote, if you kick every Latino out of this country, then who is going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump? You know what I mean? After a shocked reaction from the crowd, she backtracked, adding, quote, I didn't mean it like that. Come on, I would never mean it like that. I'm not part of this argument. One of her hosts, Michelle Collins, tried to help her out by adding, quote, I think what you're trying to say is that Trump probably relies on the people that he's insulting. These comments have haunted Kelly ever since. And finally, number 1, Jennifer Garner. Of course, Jennifer Garner's career is doing just fine, but she was incredibly embarrassed while she was on The Late Show with Conan O'Brien. Jennifer was promoting a new movie she was in where she was a secret agent doing tons of stunts. The pair started talking about these stunts and Conan asked if she had snuck anywhere. Jennifer quickly replied that snuck is not a word and sneaked is the actual word to say, even calling out the fact that Conan had a degree from Harvard and seemingly didn't know that. However, after they came back from commercial break, Conan brought out the dictionary and proved that snuck is a word. It seems that sneaked is the proper term, however snuck has been popular since the 19th century and now both are recognized. And at number 10, Harmony Korine. This one is so shocking, I can't even believe that it's real. But director Harmony Korine was banned from The Late Show with David Letterman after he caught her stealing. Even worse, the person that Korine was allegedly stealing from was Meryl Streep, of all people. Letterman described the story during an interview, saying, quote, I went upstairs to greet Meryl Streep and welcome her to the show, and I knock on the door and she was not in there. I looked around, she wasn't in there, and I found Harmony going through her purse. True story. And so I said, that's it, put her things back in the bag and get out of here. And obviously after pulling a stunt like that, nobody looked at Harmony the same way again. And at number 9, Sarah Silverman. One of the strangest interviews of all time has to be between Sarah Silverman and Bill Burr on her show I Love You America. Right off the bat it's very confusing, with Sarah almost confronting Bill about their friendship. She even introduced him as someone she fights with like siblings and someone she loves, but they fight like crazy. The whole time we're not sure if the things that they're saying about each other is serious or just for the cameras, but from my perspective it looked like the pair were having some sort of therapy session. Sarah then told the crowd that after they fight, Bill always texts her that he loves her. He claims that he doesn't remember this and say they fight a lot because Sarah tries to change his jokes in a way that most likely offends him. And at number 8, Jay Leno. This interview was truly painful to watch. For some reason, Jay Leno had Jimmy Kimmel on his show as a guest, even though it was clear the two were not very fond of each other. The interview got pretty savage from the moment that it started, and Kimmel ruthlessly mocked Leno for pretty much anything and everything. Jimmy even made multiple jokes about the fact that Jay Leno's show was being cancelled at that time. And the worst part was that Leno really couldn't take the heat, and he was not making any clever clapbacks. So it was basically like watching the most unfair fight on earth. At some points you even kind of pity Leno, which isn't a feeling comedians want to instill in their viewers. After this aired, Kimmel's stock with the late night community went way up and Leno's plummeted. And at number 7, Joaquin Phoenix. Anyone who follows the actor knows that Joaquin is a bit of an oddball at media events because he's pretty uncomfortable with being questioned. One of the strangest interviews of all time was one that Joaquin did with Letterman, where he acted even stranger than usual. In the 2009 interview, audience members weren't sure if he had lost his mind or if he was intoxicated with one or multiple substances. However, we learned later that the terrible interview seemed to be some sort of a bit to promote a new movie of his. In the film called I'm Still Here, Joaquin and Casey Affleck star in the biopic where Joaquin plays a rapper. And apparently Joaquin was channeling his character in the Letterman interview, that's why it was so strange. Joaquin returned to the Late Show in 2010 and apologized for his past behavior. It was clear from that interview that he's just an awkward guy in general. And at number 6, Vivica A. Fox. Fox ended up being banned from Jimmy Kimmel Live after she walked out of the interview while it was happening. Apparently Jimmy said some negative things about one of her friends, so she didn't want to stay on the show. When talking about the ban, she said, quote, "I was really surprised because I used to go on his show all the time, and there was just one time that I went on the show and he dissed my good friend, Star Jones." She continued that she was shocked when she was banned because Jimmy seemed very apologetic about the incident and apologized to her privately after it happened. So either in the moment he just wanted her back on the show and didn't mean it, or he was sorry but thought leaving the show was not the appropriate way to handle it. Halfway at number 5, Adrien Brody. Adrien Brody is a well-respected dramatic actor, winning the Oscar in 2002 for Best Actor in The Pianist. Then on the heels of his new fame, he was asked to host SNL in 2003. And when he was introducing the musical guest, Jamaican singer Sean Paul, he not only made everyone cringe with embarrassment, but he also broke one of the golden rules of live TV. For the introduction, Brody took it upon himself to grab a dreadlock wig and ramble in a problematic Jamaican accent for way too long before handing things off. And even though the Jamaican accent was very offensive and he probably should have been banned for just that, the bit wasn't planned and ended up wasting a lot of valuable time, which made SNL producers even more angry. He ended up apologizing for the insensitive bit. And at number 4, Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase was a huge success on SNL and leveraged his success on the show to branch out to other huge movies like the National Lampoon's franchise, but he ended up being the only SNL cast member banned from the show. Apparently Chase was a handful from the start and insulted plenty of guests that came on the show, like Robert Downey Jr. and Terry Sweeney, but the last straw came in 1997 after it was revealed that he'd been harassing women on the show like Sherry O'Terry, who he hit on the back of the head. After this incident was exposed, Lorne Michaels banned him from the show, but it seems that the ban only applied to hosting, as he did participate in some sketches down the line. And at number 3, Madonna. Madonna is a record-breaking singer, but she's broken some other records that she might not be too proud of. One that got her a lot of flack was when she dropped the F-bomb a record-breaking 14 times on David Letterman's show. In this bizarre interview, it seems that Madonna was trying to pick a fight with Letterman and give him a taste of his own medicine, but it was basically just a train wreck. Letterman started off the interview with a jab, saying that Madonna had, quote, slept with the biggest names in entertainment history. From there it went downhill. Madonna came on stage with her underwear behind her back and said, quote, quote, "I'm only here because I couldn't escape this, don't flatter yourself." Then Letterman started repeatedly asking her to kiss a man in the audience, to which she responded asking why he's so obsessed with her love life. Madonna then tried to get Letterman to smell her underwear, which he did not. After tons of swearing, sexual innuendos, and going way over time, they finally got Madonna to walk off the stage. And at number 2, Drake. This is another one coincidentally involving Madonna. Both Drake and Madonna got tons of heat in 2015 after Madonna kissed Drake on stage, and he had a shocking reaction. The pair were performing at Coachella, and near the end of their performance, Drake was sitting on a chair and Madonna came up behind him and planted a huge kiss. But things took a turn for the worse when after the pair pulled away from the kiss, Drake made a disgusted face. It looked like a mix of crying, laughing, and regret. After the picture went viral, Drake said it was quote misinterpreted, adding quote, "I got to make out with the queen Madonna and I feel 100% about that forever." But I don't know, Drake, the video doesn't lie. One insider who's allegedly close with Drake said his reaction was due to Madonna's gross tasting lipstick and not the actual kiss itself, which I actually believe. And finally, number 1, Howard Stern. Howard Stern is very raunchy, I think everyone knows that by now, but after he did a bit on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno that was too risque for network TV, he was banned by the show. And although many in the crowd were disgusted by what took place, I'm sure his diehard fans loved it. While Howard was being interviewed, he brought out 2 women half naked in lingerie, and at one point told Leno that he was going to be making late night history by quote, "having the first lesbian kiss on camera." And in true Howard Stern fashion, the kiss was insanely raunchy, which made Jay Leno incredibly nervous. After the 1995 episode ended, Leno was furious and banned Stern from the show.